You remember when you were a kid and there were those toy and it was on the ground and it was a clown and you would punch it and it would jump back up? I used to tell people, I'm the dumb clown. I keep popping back up just for life to punch me again. When am I going to stay down? When am I going to stay down? The hard truth can be that you are letting your victimhood dictate your future. I did not want to hear that because I just don't have it in me anymore. And I stayed there for over a year. And it almost ruined my business. It almost ruined my life.
On today's episode, you'll meet someone who knows what it means to keep getting back up again and again. Lesley Stegmeier is a business owner, real estate broker, mom, and self-proclaimed wannabe comedian who has rebuilt her life more than once. We talk about finding joy in the smallest moments, breaking free from a victim mentality, and setting boundaries that protect your peace. This is a conversation about resilience, authenticity, and building a life you actually want to wake up to. Let's jump in.
Welcome to The Shift, Lesley. I'm so glad you agreed to join us today.
Thank you. I'm really glad that you invited me. A little nervous, but I'll be okay.
No, it'll be good. So what's neat to me is we've known each other a long time, over a decade now. Mm-hmm. And about this time, 10 years ago, I approached you and asked you to speak at an event I was helping organize. So we had a fundraising event and you were our keynote speaker. Do you remember that?
I do remember. And I was honored then and I'm honored now.
Yeah. So how crazy it is that here we are 10 years later. And I'm really excited to have an opportunity to share your story. Let's start where you are right now today, who you are and what lights you up right now.
Right now, the number one thing that lights me up is an everyday pursuit of building a life that I want to wake up to.
Yeah. Building that life that you're proud of, that gives you the excitement to get out there and do the things every day, right?
And to enjoy life and to laugh, and to help others in my business specifically right now. That's my focus. And so that is exciting to me. But just to, I'm naturally a silly person. And sometimes I have to always be, or I feel like I have to always be serious for what I do. But remembering that inside of me is a goofy, sometimes I just want to revert back to a goofy, silly class clown teenage version of myself. That's the most authentic version of me. But putting her in this adult life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's awesome when you're able to do that because people connect with people who are authentic, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're your most authentic self, that's when you make the strongest connections with other people. When we put on a mask or we try to be somebody we're not, people can sense that and feel it. And I think one of the cool things about what you do specifically is that, yes, you have to put on your professional hat at times and you have to be the professional, the boss, the business owner, but you also have an opportunity to connect with people and get to know them through mm-hmm. your work. But I want to step back to something you just said that is such a beautiful word. You said that you are building a life around joy. So would you tell me a little bit about maybe what joy means to you and what that life of joy would look like?
Yeah. Joy to me would basically in a nutshell, when I wake up, I used to wake up and just think, another day. But joy would be, it's going to sound very silly, being grateful to do the dishes because I have dishes to do. So I'm in a rebuilding phase of life. And sometimes it doesn't look nothing like how I feel it should look at 42. And it doesn't look like what I feel. We all think what we deserve or what we've worked for. But it's okay. But sometimes I look around and it just doesn't, especially as a single mom, doesn't look the way it looks. Maybe I don't have the right decorations for my new place or whatever. But I think to myself, I'm living somebody's dream in this space. And there's a mom out there that wishes she could afford a 3-bedroom place or have the nice couch I have. And now I don't have any dining room tables or dining room chairs because I need new ones. And so I got rid of the old ones and we're just making do for right now. But I'm just like, there's somebody who wish they had a dining room. It sounds so silly. And when I put myself in that scenario, too many people wish they had their own real estate brokerage but when I break it down to just, it's okay. The right decorations aren't on the wall. We have what we need. And so many people would, these basic needs are a majority of the world's dream, like lifelong dreams.
Right.
So, and it just gives me gratitude, which that shift of gratitude, I think, is what propels me to move forward. It doesn't take me back. When I'm not in gratitude or when I'm in resentment, I take a step back. When I'm in that place of gratitude, it allows for joy, and it has just built upon itself so dramatically lately.
And so you're in this rebuilding stage of your life right now. And you and I have talked about this. When I was 42, I was also in a rebuilding stage. But let's kind of go backwards a little. Let's do a quick rewind and let's talk about your story. So where did you come from? What have your experiences been that made you the person who you are today?
When I think of the essence of me and being a business owner specifically, I started selling candy bars in school on the playground, and I was kind of like a chubby kid.
You were that kid.
Yeah, I was that kid.
Wait. This is very important. Yeah. What candy did you sell?
Well, just they were, here's the deal. They were 3 for $1 back then.
But what candy?
Butterfingers, Kit Kats, Hershey bars.
Chocolate.
I just remember chocolate for sure. Yeah. And so I would I would take my allowance, I'd go to the store, and it'd be 3 for $1. I'd sell it for 50 cents. And then my operation got so big that I had a friend who had a different playground period. I would give her the candy, and she was my employee for her playground time. And then I didn't think anything of it, and I didn't think this was weird or abnormal. But my mom one time was like, you can't keep, Lesley, you don't eat all that chocolate. And I was like, I'm not eating it. And she said she was just flabbergasted. She's like, what do you do? I was like, I sell it at school. Then the principal called her, and they were like, we're very impressed with your daughter's business acumen, but the other parents are calling because their children need 50 cents every day to buy candy from your child. But I've been entrepreneurial since I was little. I knew that money bought things, and I knew I liked things. But then even moving into high school, my parents, I was given a car, but it didn't work very well. It literally lasted, maybe 6 months. And on my 16th birthday, I made my dad pick me up from school and take me to Sonic because they said they wouldn't hire me till I was 16. And then I called every day until they hired me. And then I was also the first employee of the month ever at that Sonic store. Yeah, this is who I am. They made tips at Sonic, and I wanted some of that tip money. And then that same year, I needed to buy a car. My grandparents gave me a $5,000 loan, and I worked 2 jobs to pay it back that summer. So I've just kind of always been a really hard worker. And then at 18, I found alcohol. So I went from a person who had two jobs as a teenager and went to school. Didn't really care much about school, made good grades, but they weren't paying me so much, didn't care too much. To within 6 months, had quit both the jobs and just partied all the time. It wasn't until getting sober at 31 that I understood. And it took years for me to look back and go, oh, that clicked. But that changed because my priority really, I didn't understand it, and I couldn't understand it. I think alcoholism and addiction is so crazy. I was a very high functioning alcoholic. I got a master's degree while drinking, and I got a 3.5 GPA. Now, I didn't do that except for my partner at the time, my husband, my first husband, controlled my drinking. And so I was only allowed to drink every other day, which is a crazy thing and probably why we're obviously not married, because that entire statement's an insane statement. And I fully grasp that. But I'm grateful for him because I did want to go to school, and being with him and him being a graduate student too, it just provided that for me. And then the following year after I graduated, I was a tax accountant for a public firm. It did not really match with my personality. Nope. But I do love accounting. It makes businesses make sense. I just can't sit still and be quiet all day, as you know about me. It was a very hard thing to ask me to do. And then when I got sober at 31, I felt like I had to make up for 10 years of, more than that, but definitely my 20s were not well spent except for getting the degree. So I went back to being kind of a workaholic and building things and getting remarried and having a daughter and being a stepmom and just dealing with life and those tribulations. And then unfortunately through another divorce, because I did not sign up to be the exclusive breadwinner of a family, and then being a single mom, which I never thought I would be. I mean, I thought when you get married at 34 and have a kid, you just think, I thought I had checked all the boxes. Like I thought I was prepared, and man, life will just life at you sometimes, as I like to say.
Say that
So,
again.
yeah, it really does. So I am
Life
in
will just
like
life at you. Say that again.
life will just life at you sometimes.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. Sometimes I say to my sober friends, I say, life's gonna life, or something funny like that. And they're just like, yeah. So it doesn't really care. It doesn't care about your upbringing, your economic status, how smart you are, your education. The best people in the world have things that they didn't ask for or cause just happen to
Right.
them. So
Yeah.
I do feel like over the course of my life, though, that I have had to pick myself up quite a few times.
Yeah. You talked about some of the struggles that happened in your 20s, basically, the marriages, and actually you're in a place now where you're rebuilding. And we've had conversation, you've confided some things in me, but what was the point or a defining moment maybe that changed everything for you where, you woke up and you said, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to change my path. I'm going to rebuild this life. I'm going to make joy my goal, my mission, or when you said, I'm not going to live that life anymore. I can't do that anymore. I'm going to do something different. Tell me about that.
well, I would like to say it was like a really long time ago, but it wasn't a long time ago. As everybody knows, rebuilding a life or building a life or business or anything is like a roller coaster as it's supposed to be. It's not just this. It's going to be like this. And in the midst of rebuilding my business, because I'm recently, unfortunately, divorced for the second time. And what I realized last year was, this is a little sidebar. I had spent years taking care of, and probably my entire life, truly. But I would do minimal things for myself, even just getting your hair done or things like that. So I started spending money on myself last year for the first time. And I would say that's the greatest investment. That little act of self-love, of just even getting your nails done, just did wonders for me last year. Let me describe it like this. You remember when you were a kid and there were those that it was a toy and it was on the ground and it was a clown. It was like this, and you would punch it and it would
Yes.
jump back up. I used to tell people, I'm the dumb clown. I keep popping back up just for life to punch me again. When am I going to stay down? Like, when am I going to stay down? I just keep going like, okay, well, here we go. But a few months ago, I didn't know if I had it in me to bounce back up one more time. And I had a friend, it's actually my best friend's little sister. And I remember her being in a really dark place not too long ago, several years ago. And I've watched her spark come back, and she's so happy and she's so fun and she shares her life. That's part of the authenticity, and it's real with her. It's not fake happiness or joy. She's very silly. And I reached out to her one day and I was like, how did you go from being the miserable person that I knew to this? Like waking up at 6 a.m. and being excited to go to and then share your cute little selfie. And I mean, she lives in Hawaii, so it's how are you unhappy in Hawaii? But she was,
Right.
yeah, you can be unhappy anywhere. So she called me and we check in about once a week. Sometimes it's phone calls, sometimes it's text. But she said to me, I said, you used to be miserable. How did you get happy? Like I want to be there. And she gave me this gift. And the gift was, she said, I started with the smallest thing that I actually could control. She said, I took down my blackout curtains. And she was like, and after a few weeks of that, I was like, wow, okay, what else could I do? And she was like, then I made my bed every morning. And it was the smallest of intentions of actions that she could control that would potentially change her life, because I am a big thinker and I'm an all or none thinker. So if we can't just change it overnight, well, then what's the point? So I decided to let everything else that felt really stinky just stink, right? But what is the one thing? And I just started doing these just noticeable differences. What could I control? What could I do? And like I think we touched on it. It just shifted me into that gratitude. It just and I started looking for joy. If you start looking for joy, you will find joy. So, because again, life is going to life. And if you focus, like, the whole what you focus on expands. So if I'm every day trying to look for joy
Yeah.
and intentionally make my own joy, um, it it is that perception shift.
There's been studies on that. There was a professor who did a study with students, and they had a certain like half of the students were given one set of instructions for an assignment. The other half of the students were given a different set of instructions, and it was around journaling. And so the first set of students, they were told specifically to journal about specific things every day that brought them joy, basically. And I believe that was the exact word she used, was joy. The other group was just told to just journal for 10 minutes every day. So this went on for a while, and they measured the results of the students before this experiment and after, and then even months after they left the study. And the students who had choice A, where they were to journal about gratitude and joy, they had significantly higher grades. They reported being significantly higher, not just up until the experiment ended, but even months after it was over than the group that was just journaling by itself. And so a couple of things that I think of when I think about that, Lesley, is my first husband. One of the positives that I can say about him was he used to tell me, Amy, happiness is a choice. And I didn't believe him at all back then. I just didn't believe it. I didn't buy it. And maybe it was the messenger. I don't know. I just didn't believe it was true. I absolutely know that to be the truth now. I believe happiness is a choice and joy is a choice. So you have a brand new daughter, not brand new. She's in elementary school now, early elementary school. But I have a granddaughter who is starting kindergarten this fall. One of the things I love about both her and her mother, when her mother was younger, is that they didn't have all of the responsibilities of adulthood on their shoulders, providing for them the bills. You and I are both business owners, so they didn't have all this other stuff going around, all these distractions and all this weight that we carry as adults in the United States of America. And so, like, I was taking my daughter and I were on a girls' trip one time when she was, I want to say 12 or 13. And we were just driving down some 2-lane road coming home, and there was a sunflower field out to the side. And she asked me to stop and take pictures. And I'm like, I have time to take pictures. I got to get home. I have laundry to do. I've got to cook. I've got to do all these things that you have to do when you get back from a trip. That never even crossed her mind. She wanted to get out and take pictures of those sunflowers. And I still have those pictures today. And I look at this one specific picture as a reminder that we do have to stop and smell the roses, or stop and look at the sunflowers. And my granddaughter does the same thing, Lesley. She just, of course, toddlers, you watch them and they have no responsibilities, right? So life is just all this brand new experience. Things are really exciting or they're really devastating, and their emotions are all over the place. They're like you as an adult. They're fun, right? And funny and playful. They like to have fun. But with her, everything that she does is new and exciting, and she finds the fun in everything. My daughter sent me some pictures last night of her with her friends at daycare, and she's the one out front who they're picking up and holding and wrapping her arms around everybody, because life is just meant to be happy for her. So how cool is it that we can actually learn those lessons from little people?
It's like a spiritual gift watching them grow, perceive, be joyful. It's a gift for us as adults because we forget completely.
You see that with Evelyn?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Watching the wonderment. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Like in their eyes, watching her, just watching their little personalities and how funny they are, and how they perceive things. And she'll just be like, sometimes she'll be like, "You just need to chill, Mom." And I'm just like, "I do need to chill." Like, accurate. We're gonna chill. It's really difficult to balance in this rebuilding and growing phase to remember to have fun. I'm almost having to like when I'm not with Evelyn. The nights that I don't have her, I make sure I'm doing something fun. But the wonderment and the slowing down, but sometimes I have to stop and remind myself I'm on a big dumb rock in a big dumb solar system. I'm going to die and everybody knows I'm going to die. None of this matters. So if I don't have a little fun today, I have to have a little bit of fun in every day. So still to pay the bills. And I want to do big things and I want to help a lot of people. But at the end of the day, none of it matters in like 300 years.
So I love that you're taking intentional steps like your friend advised you to do, little things that you can do every day and building on that to keep yourself in the mindset of your goal, which is to be joyful. Looking back, which, we don't really like to look back, so I don't recommend it for people to do on a regular basis. But looking back, what do you believe because of your experiences and this rebuilding? What truth came out of some of the hard parts of your life, that you kind of that you carry now, those things that you carry with you in work and in life? So what are some of those things that you believe now to be true?
That I'm strong. I don't always want to be strong, but like, come on. Like, I know it. I'm very strong. Another thing that I've learned is that we are in control of where we want to drive our car. So if you want to pull over and have a pity party, like that's fine. But if you get back in that driver's seat and look out that big window, you can choose which direction you want to go. And you might choose one and realize that's not the path for you, but you can get back in that car and you can go somewhere else, somewhere with mountains. And that's all metaphorical. But I do want to say something that happened really interesting that's similar when I've been in this phase, do you ever have these like God moments where you feel like God's sending you everybody with a message? Or maybe I'm just was in the right space to hear it from everybody. But I had this week, and it was like the same week I had that conversation with my friend's sister, my hairdresser of all people. We were just chatting and we were talking about things, and she was like, Lesley, you can't focus on the past. Your entire life it's a library. She's like, stop reading the old books and go pick up a new one and write a new chapter in a new book. There's a whole lot, you have the whole library to fill. And I was just like, this is me, like, I'm getting spiritual advice from my hairdresser right now. Like, I just was like, okay, God, like, I hear you, and it was just another moment of realizing, yes, put down the old books, stop reading the old books. Our stories are important.
Yep.
And we don't have to burn the books. I'm in a space of not wanting to look at them right now.
Yeah.
I want to build a life that I enjoy, which requires a lot of new writing, new chapters, new books.
I love that you use the book analogy. I've told you this before, but the things that happened to me when I was literally your age, and you know what those are, it feels to me like it was a book I read. I've told you that before. So using the analogy of a new chapter, that's what it's all about. And the fact that, yes, we are in control of this life. We get to decide what we do next. We get to decide where we go from here. And there are so many different paths we can take. Which one are we going to take? So having that ownership of your life and taking responsibility for it. An example I use a lot is think about if you've ever planned for an event like a Christmas party or that fundraiser where I had you come speak, Evelyn's birthday parties, whatever it is. If you've ever planned an event, how much time do you spend thinking about things like who's going to come? How many people are going to be there? What's the budget? What's the time? What's the date? Are we going to have cake? What's all the decisions that you have to make and all the planning you do for that one event that might only last, say, 2 hours? But we spend so much time and effort doing those things to make everybody else comfortable. And I believe that's what it's about. When I'm throwing a party, it's for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So if we could take that same energy and that same determination to plan our own life, maybe our own party in this thing called life, but plan
I love
our
that.
own life, how cool would that be?
Yeah. Party of one.
Party of one. Hey, there you go. That's a great name for a book right there. Party of one. If somebody is listening right now and they're in the middle of their shift, or they're at that crossroads where you have been in your life more than once, but if they're in that spot right now where they're having to make a choice, what would you tell them? What encouragement would you give them, or lesson that you've learned? What hard truth maybe would you want them to hear from you?
I'm going to share my own hard truth. Okay.
Yeah.
With everybody's stories different where they are, the hard truth can be that you are letting your victimhood dictate your future. I did not want to hear that. I did not want to be the person who I used to be so strong. And then it came to a point where I was like, I'm so tired of being strong. Like, y'all just need to hand me things. Life just needs to hand me things because I just don't have it in me anymore. And I stayed there for over a year. And it almost ruined my business. It almost ruined my life. You are victims. Things happen. But if you don't release that or let go of that or decide that you are going to get back in the driver's seat and go a different direction, you will it is a terrible loop and a terrible mental space to be in. And I really think that conversation about joy is what whipped me out of that drain I was just spinning of this isn't fair. I mean, you would hear me say that all the time. This isn't fair. This isn't fair. And I hated that I went from somebody who felt so strong to in that spot again, to in that spot. Like I'd never even been there before, but it was just like hit. And then a few years later, another hit. And oh my gosh, like, the real estate market is not fair. This isn't fair. It's not fair that, I got divorced again. Nothing felt fair. And the truth is, it's not fair. The truth is, there are just a lot of unfair things, but living in a victim mentality for me almost cost me everything. And for me is that silly little conversation about, I'm going to get in the driver's seat and I'm going to do the smallest thing I can to provide. And I'm going to try to build on that the next day or a week later to give myself permission to let it be a slow progress. But we weren't going to go this way. We were going to go this way.
Yeah, that victim mindset is definitely a poison. It's toxic. I had it myself back when I was in an abusive situation and felt like life wasn't fair, felt like, woe was me, everything's happening to me. But I love the fact that you've also learned the same lesson that I have. We're so alike. We're so alike, and we've known it. We've, we've lived different lives, but they've been so similar. And that lesson is such a huge lesson. And it's one that I'm adamant about now, is that we're not victims. Anything that happened to us past the age of 18, when you're a child, you don't really have control over the things that happen to you the way that you do once you become an adult. And it's a hard, hard, hard truth, and it's a hard pill to swallow. But the fact of the matter is, almost everything that happens in your life as an adult is a result of choices, the choices that we make, and taking personal responsibility and having accountability around those choices. I mean, for me, I look back and my first marriage was abusive, and it was abusive in many, many different ways. But every time he laid a hand on me or spoke to me in an unkind way after the first time was because I chose to stay. And once I learned that, once that I really learned it, not just in my head, but in my heart. And I was like, wow, that's huge, like mind-blowing, huge information to me. But once I learned that in my heart, my whole life changed, right? And so sometimes things happen to you. I mean, somebody might rob from you, or your house gets broken into, or what are there other things I don't even want to mention that can happen to people that are outside of your control. But the way you respond to it is inside your control. And I think
And it
that's
just
what it's
goes back
about.
to the, like you said, choosing happiness. I mean, people that get sick all the time, they say the ones with the best outcome are the ones with the positive outlook. And it's just kind of like having a pity party never served anything.
We're going to move to what we call the Insight Wild Card. And this is where I have 10 questions and they're on standby. You're going to get to pick a number between 1 and 10, whichever number you pick. I'm going to read the corresponding question to you. So, Lesley, what's your number?
9.
Number 9. All righty. So, number 9 is, I'm just going to say this. I am amazed how every time the questions align perfectly with the guest. Here's your question, Lesley. Which boundary have you recently set that changed how you lead or live your life? And why was it a pivotal one for you?
Well, we already know. It was the boundary that I was not going to let myself live in the victim mentality. That, and I do want to say with that, it for me, and having to show myself grace, it wasn't like a hard line in the sand. It was just this knowing that wasn't serving me. Yeah, just remembering that I'm not a victim. I have choice. I'm in control and moving in that direction. So
Love
that was
it.
like a cheat one because like we already did that.
We already did it, but it's perfect, right? Here's the thing that's so cool though. You chose to set a boundary around yourself. Most people, when they talk about boundaries, it's boundaries around other people. So I like the angle you took on that. We can also have boundaries with ourselves. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your time. I know that time is such a precious resource. And so we appreciate you spending your time with me and sharing your story and your insights with other people.